Hi, folks. We're back.
Hi, everybody. How's
Jimmy.
everybody doing? I want to make sure that people always hit, or they like what they see, hit like, subscribe, ring the bell to see all about the upcoming episodes with Larry and I. Brother Larry.
Better do something about how many, what did they say? We have so many subscribers, 1,700 and something?
Yeah, well,
1,700.
2,000, something like that.
No, not 2,000, 1,700. They've been like that for a month. You better get on the ball here with your all your contacts. Anyway,
yes,
Tom told me to say that.
Okay.
Okay. Now, we're going to talk about a podcast we did a few weeks back when me and Jimmy went back and forth, and a lot of you people out there seem to like that. I guess if he plunged a knife in my chest, you'd like it even more. But
which could be arranged if the price is right. I'm a businessman, you know.
Anyway, I got an email, and the guy in the email said when I mentioned because sometimes I get carried away, and sometimes I think that everybody has to think like me. And that would be sad because I'm just not a normal person. I'm not a normal guy. And why would I think that everybody should act like me? And when they don't, sometimes I get a little defensive. But I adjust. And a few weeks back, we talked about the mob and me telling, saying that what kind of man are you if you're holding an umbrella for another guy, and Jimmy he got a little offended by that because his whole family, including himself, are in that mob. They took that oath, and part of that oath is there's a chain of command, and that's just something I don't understand. But I also and I guess it's some kind of it's not an apology. It's just me thinking about this and realizing that I have to take into consideration that everybody is not like me and they don't think like me, and I keep going back to the time when I had a friend in hospice care, and every night I'd sit there, and every night when I come up there'd be another empty bed, and that same hospice nurse, she was there and always smiling and everything, and I said to her one day, I said, how could you always be so happy? You never have a good day. Every time you come in here, there's somebody that you were caring for, and everything has died. And how could you do that? These are the things I don't understand. And I come to the conclusion a long time ago, but sometimes I get off track. These are special kind of people. It takes a special kind of person to want to be a firefighter or a nurse or a doctor, or it's just different. And in reality, who the fuck am I to say that you shouldn't do this or shouldn't do that? Me of all people. And I probably said a lot of things during that podcast that maybe I shouldn't have said. Because look, if you're holding the umbrella and that's what you signed up for, I guess you got to hold the umbrella. And a guy sent me an email saying that in that life, it's not being anything less than a man. It's just part of what you have to do. It's part of the routine. It's an automatic. I just can't imagine. In my defense, and I should have said this then, but I didn't, but I'm going to say it right now. Okay. I know one thing. Bert was a bad guy, a tough guy. Killed 17 guys and Gotti's favorite guy in New Jersey. If Gabert ever handed your father an umbrella and says, it's raining out, hold the umbrella, your father would have hit him over the head with the umbrella.
Probably, but he never would say that, though. They had a different kind of a bond. But let me try to clear that up. In other words, let's just say if it was yourself and the owner Tannenbaum, the guy that owns the track or whatever, you're going to the parking lot, you're both done working, and it's raining out, and you have a very large umbrella. and you're both walking to your cars. Now, in a sense, that's the guy who signs your paycheck. It's just like another worker would do if they're working at a hospital, another working colleague. As they're going there and their boss is going to their car, they're going to be respectful and hold the umbrella. Say, here, get under my umbrella. We're going to the car, not to get wet. It's just a common courtesy. But think about it, when Sammy was doing that, because look at the way, by using John's power, the money that he was making every week, the money that this guy made, because he was using that power that John had that it was inside of John, that he let Sammy use that. That's why he was holding the umbrella for him. It always comes down to the money. That's what it comes down to.
I know that. There's one thing I learned, and I say it all the time, that everything is about money. Even the line of morality. When there's money involved, the line moves, and it keeps moving.
It constantly moves.
And I just expect everybody to think like I thought. But if everybody thought like I thought, the whole world would be like me. It'd be a fucked up place. It's not that I apologize, because if I didn't think the way I think, I'd be in the mob. I had plenty of opportunities from the time I was 16, 17 years old. Plenty of opportunities. I just wanted to do what I wanted to do, and that was either race cars. And when I got into the horses, like I said, I liked the horses much better, because the difference is, aside from racing for purse money, you can't fall in love with a fender or a bumper or a motor, but you can fall in love with a horse. And that's what happened to me. Between dogs and horses.
Well, that was your niche. That's what you enjoyed. You enjoyed the game of it. You enjoyed the competition. It moved you. So again,
but you know what,
I applaud you for doing what you did, and you did it well.
I just don't. I can't. I understand it now a little bit more, but I can't understand. Maybe back then, because back then, when your father was a young guy, say in the 40s, in the 50s, in the 60s, the perks were great. There was a lot of perks being a mob guy. And back in them days, the only way that you would probably get killed is if you just was a bad guy. They gave you chances. You got away with a little bit more. And even if you didn't, just obey the rules and you'd be fine. Today, and maybe starting 20 years back, these guys became power hungry. The perks became less and less and less. The government started being a lot more powerful in every way, meaning with the RICO, then the cameras, and then now they have stuff where you could be 2 miles away and they hear every word that you're saying. It's just
But
difficult.
the other lure that the government throws at these guys that turn into squealers is because they let them keep their ill-gotten gains. They allow them to keep all the millions of dollars that they made. So that's an incentive for a guy to go bad too.
And the government pays them.
And the government pays you also.
They pays them. There's a couple of guys that made over $1 million being informants for the government, and if that's why you do it, there's a couple of guys that are out there now that the guys they ratted on are due to be released from prison in the next 4, 5, 6 years, and I don't know if they're worried about it, but and I know that now in the last 15 years, 10, 15 years, the mob changed its ways a lot. They're more underground. There's no more killings. A lot of that stuff has gone by the wayside. And they're more concentrating on making money, I believe. But I just can't.
Everything comes full circle. Sooner or later, history will repeat itself. It's inevitable, because things.
But then
like
you got to be a moron. If you're saying history repeats itself. Back then, in the 30s and 40s, you even had J. Edgar Hoover that didn't even believe there was a mob. When I was not hooked up, but when I was Tommy Lucchese, when he was my mother's boss and basically mentoring me and put me on the right track and keeping after me and everything else, he controlled the whole city. He controlled everybody. Everybody was on the table. There was an envelope for the police chief, the fire chief, the mayor, the governor, and everybody.
Right.
It's not like they had no cameras, they had no sophistication, and J. Edgar Hoover, he didn't even believe that there was any kind of mob. They had free run. That's not the case today. The case today, it's you got to, in my opinion,
It's
you
a
got to
little
be
harder. But the mob is very good. It's like they're like a serpent. They just know how to change their skin.
All right.
That's,
Let me ask you a question now. And I wrote it down so I don't screw up. You know Joey Molino, he has
he has a podcast, right?
He has a podcast. And I have to say this a little bit, that I never met him, I don't know him, but I've been watching his podcast.
I was surprised that he had it, but he's found a new way legitimately of making a following. I mean,
because I'm going to forget. He has a podcast, and he says in the beginning, and he said now he's going to expose all these rats. And like I said in one of the podcasts, me and you went around and around, that there were a few guys that I know that had no choice but to become informants. If not, you just say, okay, bring me to my cell and just open your shirt and just wait for the knife to come through your chest. So they had no choice, and I know 4 or 5 guys like that. Now, I don't want to make it sound like I'm defending them. I'm not defending nobody. I stay neutral, and I'm not involved, so I don't have to be. I just know them from the business that I was in before and what happened later. But I want to ask you a question. Here's my question to you. And then we're going to end it, because I don't want to keep going round and round and round, because I realize that I'm not God, and who the hell am I to tell somebody they shouldn't hold an umbrella, or they shouldn't do this, or they shouldn't become a fireman. Who am I to do that? I'm nobody. Let everybody
neither
do
one
their
of
own
us are
thing.
gods.
Okay. Now, here's my question. Molino is going to expose, and every day he says it on his YouTube, that they're rats, that a rat is born a rat, and that they should all die, and even his own relative, and okay, that's the way he thinks. So my question to you is, and I'd like to ask your father this question, do any of these guys, and there's probably hundreds of them that become government informants, do they deserve a second chance in life? Some of them legitimately say, what the fuck did I do? I want to turn my life around. And I know the argument. They ratted on a lot of people, all the families that they ratted on.
Well, here's what I feel. I feel that if they show deeds that are worthy of that second chance, if they really show remorse.
Yeah, but Joey Molino's not even giving him a chance. He says, you're a rat, you're a rat. That's it. Fuck you, you're a rat.
But then again,
don't come near me, don't come.
Right. But then a guy can still, who testified against other people, let's say, if he thought he was going to get killed, and that's why he turned, let's say. Let's just say he then turned his life around and then started being very helpful to people in need and all that. Then you see a guy that really did see the light and really did try to prove himself to others.
Now this guy,
that's a different story now. Now a guy like that, he deserves
Molino,
a shot.
He don't want to hear it. He don't want to hear none of that. You're a rat, you're a rat. Fuck you, you're a rat. And that's his attitude. He's right. Now,
yeah, but at the same time,
he did.
By him doing the podcast, he's being looked at very differently now by people. Just for doing the podcast. He's not supposed to be doing this.
Yeah, but he didn't rat on nobody.
Yeah, but still, it's still not supposed to be, you're not supposed to be admitting what you are. I'm just saying, in his position, he's not supposed to be doing that.
That's a different argument.
So now, if he's bending the rules just to make money, now he's got to bend the rules for others then too. Now, there's nothing written in stone.
There's a couple of guys that say, look, they'd give him a lot more respect if he admitted that he is part or was part of that. And that he changed. He stays away from that. But that's not the question. The question is, if everybody in the world...
No, but he's still telling stories that the people want to hear because he knows it sells. So he's still making money off that life. It's not like he's saying, I'm abandoning that life. Look, the kid has found he found a way to do it. Fine.
You're going all around the question. The question is, do these guys deserve a second chance?
If they showed...
But he's not even giving them a chance to show.
Well, that's him.
He says a rat
You're
is a
asking
rat.
me. I'm telling you what I would do. I would give the guy, if the guy really proved and did good deeds and did something where he was helping people again and did turn his life around, yes, a guy like that deserves a second chance because he's proven himself that
now,
he's worthy.
2 weeks ago, you said to me, when we had that little thing, you said to me that he's a rat. He deserves a second chance. But he deserves a second chance because he's really going to turn his life around, and his wife hasn't seen him, his children haven't seen him growing up and everything else, so he deserves a second chance because I believe he's sincere. What about the people he ratted on that are doing life? What about their families? That was your argument 2-3 weeks ago. What about the 85 people that he ratted on? 85 families have, so now he deserves a second chance so he could be with, you know what I mean? It's a very, very, it's
a fine line, but still the same thing. When I say that, I know that deep down, there's not going to be that many people doing good deeds out there. We know they're not. It's not really going to happen.
There's 5 or 6 of them on.
I'm giving you a hypothetical situation here.
There's 5 or 6 of them on the internet, on YouTube right now that he's zeroing in on, and a whole lot more. He's zeroing in on the people that ratted on him. Don't forget, I don't know that much about it, and I might be misspeaking a little bit, but he spent 10 or 20 years in jail. He went through many years of cases where he could have went to the electric chair, that he could have spent life in jail, all because of stool pigeon and rats. I could understand how he feels that way because
I don't mind he wants to expose him. I don't care.
Just not sitting back and saying, well, you're a rat and fuck you, you're a rat and you're a rat and you're a rat. They ratted on him. Not just Sammy and all them other guys he was talking about. They were guys that were looking, that ratted on him, where he had a chance, 5 different cases, I believe, where they wouldn't leave him alone, that he could have went to jail for life. He stood up on every one of them cases, never said a word, and I'm sure he was offered many times.
Sure.
Say, look, just tell us this and this and this.
And we'll leave you alone and all that.
He never did
Joey
that.
was a good kid.
So he
was always a good kid.
You can't blame him for being, but if I know I'll never get a chance to talk to him, but I would just like to ask him this one, does every one of them guys that you put in that category, you think any one of them deserve a second chance? And you know what his answer would be? Fuck no. Fuck them. They're rats. They're born
As
rats.
of now, I don't see anybody that deserves it. Nobody proved that they deserved the second chance, in my opinion. Nobody did anything to warrant any kind of a blessing from the Pope or something that this guy really did.
What do we just talk about the top ones? Michael Franchise, he's been going around for 30 years now, preaching, turned his life around, helping other people, legitimately helping other people. Dominic Sacali, he went to these foreign countries to try to purify the water and all of that stuff.
Purify water?
Yeah, it's a whole... I'm not going to get into that, but there's a lot of these guys that legitimately turn their life around and try to do different things. In his mind, and maybe I'd feel the same way, because I'm going to tell you something. I wouldn't care what anybody said to me. If Tannenbaum walked through that door right now and I had a gun, I'd shoot him. And I never killed nobody in my life. I'm not a tough guy, but I blame him for my father dying. I blame him for me going down the path I went through. And I don't give a fuck what anybody says. Now, Joey Molino might have the same feeling, and he probably does, because the rats that were looking to put him in jail for 300 years total, that's I do. But from this point on, in my opinion, and if you just, you just take anybody with an IQ, anybody that's halfway decent, even if they never went, even if they're street smart, and you say, listen, okay, the mob was the mob. You're not getting into the Copa for nothing no more. You're not going to have these perks. Like I said before, there was a phone call that was made 15 years ago by a good friend of mine. The guy picked up the phone, anything you want, anything you want. Made the same phone call to the same guy 5 years ago. The guy wouldn't even pick up the phone.
That's how little Jimmy Boppo was at the Copa.
Everything changed.
Call him, he'd get you right in like it was nothing.
So for you, for a young kid today that's out there, that that's looking that gets involved, they should just think it out. I just can't.
Well, that was the past, and now I'm a good citizen on Larry's show. That's a totally different thing. I've traded in my gun and knife. The knife has gotten very rusty, and the gun has gotten very dusty.
So we'll just leave it. We'll just leave it because I don't want to have another one of these big, long discussions.
No, but I'm the one that enlightened you about, well, if you did do it, well, about hurting a mother, my mom would be hurt all them years. Well, that's what a rat does. He destroys all the people that he puts away. Their families suffer for many, many years without their man at home. Their breadwinner is gone. So it does, but it's a very fine line to walk.
I guess when it happens to you personally, like it did to Joey, it's personal.
Of course it hurts.
The
like when I saw the one guy testify against my father that we knew is our whole life, we know them, and he pointed there and said, yeah, that's him right there. And they said, the prosecutor said, well, how well do you know Mr. DeMonica? He says, I don't know these people. His wife and his daughter were friends, were always at barbecues together. It was very, very hard to hear that.
So you know what the bottom line is? The bottom line is just like I said about
people
about
turn on you. It's awful. It's awful. But
when it happens to you, you think differently. That's why when people say to me, "How the fuck could you do that? What you did?" You're talking about the racing going downhill and everything. You were part of the cause. All right, so to them, I could say, well, fuck you, because you don't know the whole story. So that's what I would say. And I would also say, and if you did know the whole story, and Tannenbaum was responsible for you going down the wrong path and for your father being dead, if you're going to say that you're going to give him a second chance, I'll say you're a jerk-off. So I guess I feel the same way Joey feels. I guess it all depends. If somebody ratted on your father and your father says, well, Joey Molino says, fuck them, he's a rat, he was born a rat, he's always a rat, I can understand that. But because it didn't happen to me, I may say, the guy got 2 kids at home, let's give him another chance, he deserves another chance. So the bottom line is this, because we could talk about this forever.
Yeah, but the guy that ratted on my father, I shook him down for 6 years. I made him pay me every week. Instead of putting a bullet in his head, I hurt him a lot deeper in his pocket. That's where you want to get him.
All right. Good night. See you, folks.
Enjoy, Fred. Remember, hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell.
And 1,700.
Don't believe Larry. He loves me. Don't believe this guy. He loves me.
Good night.